What's bugging you?
That philosophy assignment from yesterday.
Same here. Who did you get?
The life and works of Schopenhauer. Such a bummer. I'm trying to learn about this guy, but he's so bland and uninteresting.
I beg to disagree. He was in his own way a fascinating man. Unlike my assignment, I actually got Kant. I mean, I know they are connected and all, but man...
No way, I was hoping to get him.
Kant? Yeah, no. Schopenhauer was the one who improved upon his work.
Well, Kant kinda was his starting point, but he wasn't such a drag, you know?
Not necessarily. He was one of the greats. He had a big influence on aesthetics, idealism and romanticism in their homeland, Germany. I mean, yeah, he had some depressing conclusions, but his cause of overcoming the meaningless things in life was an entirely reasonable one. The guy recognized that our primary motivation through life was not the simplistic tendency towards happiness and love, but instead it's the will to actually live and survive as species. Therefore, in his opinion, the only thing we can do to avoid a tragedy is to turn to the world of art and philosophy. Which is a wonderful sentiment, if you think about it.
Yeah, he was influential and loathsome, big deal. You see, Kant also had a crucial impact on the philosophy of the West. In fact, he was one of the main reasons the idealistic movement of Germany even started at all. Not to mention Kantianism. The man did the seemingly impossible and combined the thoughts of both the empiricists and the rationalists. And despite his knowledge, he was a person dedicated to good-natured and healthy socialization. I mean, his philosophy revolves around treating people as you would like to be treated, and to be morally in the right, not just moping around and shunning love, happiness, or anything not related to his pretentious intellect.
Well, he had his reasons. His father allegedly committed suicide when he was just 17.
Yeah, your tragic backstory shouldn't influence your treatment of other people.
But in the end, experiences shape our personality. His mother also didn't give him much thought. She just ran away to live with Goethe and just left her children on their own. Even so, in his early years, he took over their family business and basically made a fortune overnight. This all has left him scarred, a loner, a pessimist, yes, and also very suspicious of others, especially women. He was a handsome lad, but honestly, it is no wonder he had commitment issues.
Geez, you'd think the guy would want to escape from a depressing life, not become a chauvinist.
Well, Kant's life was objectively better, but it wasn't as interesting. I mean, he wasn't even planning to devote himself to philosophy in the first place.
Well, he did spend his entire life in and around his hometown and never did travel much, true.
As I said, generic.
However, when he was younger, he was described by some of his peers as an outgoing party person. Despite that, his wealth wasn't large or anything until his 50s, so he lived his life very modestly, just like his parents. When his father died, Kant did have to resort to working as a tutor to make money for his own living. Still, he was a stellar student and was enrolled at university at only 16 years old.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for his instructor, he wouldn't have turned to philosophy in the first place.
We can't know that for sure, but you are right. Knudsen really did advise Kant to get into philosophy. At first, he was blinded by rationalism, but he did admit the reading Hume was what first interrupted his dogmatic slumber. He also started writing his first works. However, he finally became a respected professor and thinker at the age of 46.
Finally being the keyword here.
Well, better late than never, right? Well, he never married, was very short and scrawny, was never vigorous when it came to health. However, he did have a very strict routine that helped him live on much longer. His daily drill was so impeccable that his neighbors literally set their time according to his actions. Yet despite that, he had a colorful and charismatic personality which definitely helped the popularity of his lectures.
You blame Schopenhauer for sulking, yet approve of Kant's behavior. Wasn't he the one who turned bitter at the end of his life and hateful over everything and everyone?
True, but it's not the same. The loss of Kant's memory and his ability to work became the source of his misery, and so the poor guy went blind and died in his hometown.
Yes, of course it can't be the same. Schopenhauer was faced with the dark side of the world pretty early in his lifetime. He never was eager to jump into business either. He just used his earnings to finance his passion, studying and philosophy. More specifically, to study metaphysics and psychology under Schultz, who was the one who advised him to concentrate on Plato and Kant himself.
And there it goes. Kant was one of his main influences, you can't deny.
But that isn't the whole picture.
Do show it then.
Anyway, for some time he studied in Berlin under the post-Kantian professor Fichte and the theologian
Schleiermacher.
Easy for you when you're studying German. Okay, and he disagreed with some of their viewpoints, notably Fichte. Oh God, extreme idealism and Schleiermacher's.
Yes?
Schleiermacher's belief that the purpose of philosophy was to gain knowledge from God.
Well, how predictable.
Shouldn't surprise you that he was the one of first openly atheist philosophers as well. But one of the more surprising facts about his life, he did have the ability to fall in love. Contrary to his usual skeptic and dismissive demeanor, his darling was a 19-year-old opera singer, Caroline Richter, and their relationship lasted for a few years. It did fall apart, mainly because his thoughts on marriage weren't really optimistic. In his 40s, he was interested in rekindling his love life with the 17-year-old Flora Weiss, who simply rejected his advances.
Oh, I do wonder why.
I bet. Since there was a major outbreak of cholera in Berlin, Schopenhauer moved to Frankfurt and remained there for the next 20, 30 or so years until his death, living with his dogs and taking an interest in animal welfare.
Ah, yes, the infamous poodles that share the same soul, or whatever he believed. Didn't he go kind of crazy at the end too?
Indeed he did. I guess his pessimism simply escalated. At one point, his advice to people was to swallow toads. I guess in order to be prepared for the distaste of life. It was only in his late years that he was at peace, partially because of his relationship with Elizabeth Ney, a sculptress and a big fan of his work.
Pretty ironic for someone who was an alleged misogynist.
True, his health did betray him, and so he met his end because of a heart failure. Es ist gut. Weren't those Kant's last words?
Yes, why?
Just making this debate useful and writing down some material for the essay.
Ooh, good idea. I should do the same if you don't mind.
Of course not. Now, can you tell me some of Kant's more notable works?
Well, those would probably be the Critique of Pure Reason, the Critique of the Power of Judgment, the Groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals, Religion within the Boundaries of Mere Reason, and the Bounds of Sense.
Alright, I'm guessing you need the same.
Yep.
Maybe. Okay. The world as will and representation.
Mm-hmm.
Essays and aphorisms on the basis of morality, on the freedom of the will, and on the fourfold root of the principle of sufficient reason.
Well, that is a very convoluted title.
Can you give me a refresher on Kant's philosophy, though? I know they are similar in a way, but...
Oh, there is so much to say about him. Okay, so, first of all, the categorical imperatives.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right?
Yes, his claim was that it is our main principle when thinking rationally. Goodwill does not need any qualification. It already is good by itself. External validation, religion, or personal gain are completely irrelevant according to Kant. Good should be done because of the fact that it is absolutely, irrevocably the right thing to do. Oh, and he also did deal with absolutes. You should never break these rules of morality or the categorical imperatives, since people should never be used as simply the means to an end. You want me to go slower?
No, I got that. Now, do tell me, what was the thing about free will or something?
Yeah, right. See, Kant claimed that true freedom isn't only related to our desires, but to doing according to moral. A free will and a will under moral laws are one and the same.
Huh. Well, I do respect him for his views on art. Our love of the beautiful things in life is what connects us, regardless of our other needs or desires. After all, even the tasteless can acknowledge a wonderful sight.
Exactly. Kant saw the beauty in artistic and intellectual pursuits. A priori just reinforces that. It basically describes a revolutionary discovery of his, that we can prove things using only our own minds, without any empirical evidence. That also means that we can, in a way, prove stuff that may not be possible in the physical world. This is the revelation that led to the writing of his famous Critique of Pure Reason.
Alright, written down.
Oh, and one last thing. According to his theory, there are two different worlds. The first world, or the phenomenal world, is basically the world as we see it. Me, you, this table over here, that paper over there, anything physical, really. However, Kant claims that our minds are too simple to see the whole picture. The nominal world contains the things we can believe in, but we will never be able to comprehend.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, can't you agree that what we see, feel, hear, smell, or taste is merely a matter of perspective, and that our knowledge of the world is based solely on the picture that our minds can assemble using only our 5 singular senses? The fact that the perspective changes with every individual proves that the representation of the object is in your head and you can never experience the original.
Schopenhauer also agreed, although he was more focused on the brain. He considered the brain to be just another experience, like everything else around us. However, by manipulating that experience, we manipulate other experiences and how we perceive them. Brain is also the one thing that allows us to gain any kind of experience. So, it is different from everything else that we get by in life. We will never know the true nature of matter, but we can all imagine it already.
I'm not sure I follow.
It is not that complicated. Basically, he agrees that we will never be able to experience the world as it is, but he does say that the superior experience is our brain. Everything around us is just the phenomenon of the brain.
Ah, I see.
Anything else I should write about Kant? Any quotes or something?
Well, I have to. Morality is not the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. And, two things awe me most: the starry sky above me and the moral law within me.
Aww, such a hopeless romantic. Almost as sentimental as Schopenhauer's. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. And each day is a little life. Every waking and rising, a little birth. Every fresh morning, a little youth. And every going to rest and sleep, a little death. Got any more on Kant?
Well, not that I can remember right now. Any pointers in mind, though? Can't remember anything past the hipster Buddhism phase.
Well, you see, it is true that Arthur really did admire Buddhism. His interest grew, particularly after his father's death.
Yeah, thinking you know everything about life when you're a teenager. Sounds familiar.
Well, he certainly did know more than your average high schooler. One of the main things about his philosophy was the will to life, which he describes as something that motivates a person to continue living and surviving. In fact, he theorizes that reality is one universal will. This will is in every single living and sensing creature. Whether it dies as we do or not remains a mystery, since the question itself is too transcendental. Therefore, death itself is also a mystery.
Yet it all revolves around procreation.
Because on our subconscious, primal level, our purpose and goal is just that. Continue family tree and the human species. If we were thinking rationally, we would choose companions that are our opposites in order to reach the golden middle, or basically the biological sweet spot. He saw humans as animals, just more self-aware and therefore more unhappy.
And what was his advice, do tell?
Well, 2 possible things you can do. Either spend as much time as you can with art and philosophy, or become a sage.
A sage? Are you sure this guy wasn't just trolling or something?
Oh no! Sages recognize the malignancy of our basic instincts and are able to avoid natural drives of every human being: selfishness, lust, vanity. They usually live in seclusion, never marry, and live a humble life.
Well, at least you know you can spend the rest of your life with poodles. Or are you more of a cat person?
Easy for you to say when you're already secure and taken.
What, jealous?
Well, not really. To live alone is the fate of all great souls. But to be honest, I am mildly infuriated about this essay.
Wait, oh my god, we are dumb.
What?
We could have just asked the professor to switch the philosophers.
Well, it is not late yet. Let's go!